Welcome to The Connecting Place with Andrea Fabry, making the connection between health and your environment. Now, here's your host, Andrea Fabry.
Today I'm going to talk about a very difficult decision I've made in the last year that I hope encourages you or makes you think a lot about the issue of devices and technology. And do we really need to have 24-hour connection with the rest of the world? I'm bringing along my husband, Chris. Thank you for being here.
Great to be with you, Andrea. How you doing today?
Pretty good. He has shared in this journey. In fact, for Christmas this year, I asked him, it's the first time we've had a present that saves money. And I said, could you please help me? I've got to make this step from the smartphone to a flip phone, but I was overwhelmed, wasn't I?
It was a struggle for you, and frankly, a struggle for me because I know how much you paid for that other phone. But it was really one of those things, you know, deep down in your soul, I need to do this, and you knew it would help other people. So let's get to that first question. Why did you get rid of it? What was going on?
Well, I want to emphasize this was a journey. This wasn't, I woke up on December 24th, 2015 and said, I think I'm getting rid of my smartphone. This dated back. I thought about it for at least a year. And it started when I really began to understand the nature of technology, wireless radiation, a lot of education that I was getting through my building biology practitioner certification, and then having an inspection done of our home. It is all encompassing. But the one thing I thought is, well, I'm not getting rid of my smartphone because I'm a blogger and I have an online business and I loved the technology. I remember being daunted by the technology itself. I never can learn a smartphone. Well, that didn't take long and I was loving it. So,
well, can I jump in here? There was a thermal image thing that you bought as an app for your phone too. And you were really excited about being able to use that.
I was excited about, yes, the thermal imaging to detect water damage behind walls. It was great. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with any of these, and they have a lot of benefit. And I think that's the problem. And when we get a hold of technology, we want more and more and more, and then we can't imagine living without it. And I began to find other like-minded authors who were writing about this. One of them was Nicholas Carr, who wrote The Shallows. And lately, or in the last year, I believe, he came out with The Glass Cage. And I was so moved by his way of thinking about this, presenting this as something to think about. The issue is we don't think. We just assume it's all good. It's the more the merrier. And I began to think differently. So I took it in steps. And I remember just trying to turn off my phone during the day. And that seems like an obvious thing to do, but it's hard. I did get off Instagram because I was really trying to grow my audience there, and I really liked sharing. I love Instagram, but it was gluing me to my phone because then I felt like I had to respond. So I was noticing this, so I just cut that out. That was actually the first step I took.
What about Facebook? Was that hard?
Well, I took that app off. I just took the apps off. Yes, that was very hard. The whole thing was hard. Nothing about this was easy, but I just felt it so deeply that I want to move in this direction for so many reasons. And let's look at the radiation issue. You know, this is non-ionizing radiation. These are radio frequency fields that are thought to be harmless, or at least our government says they are, unless there's just too high of a level or too much exposure. I mean, there's some acknowledgement that this is worth thinking about. But understanding that this level frequency has been declared, I believe it's a possible carcinogen by the World Health Organization, was a major turn of events. And if you look at the Bioinitiative Report 2012, there are 1,800 studies that suggest that non-ionizing radiation has serious long-term biological effects. Well, that's enough to wake me up. And I can show this. This is an audio demonstration, or I'd show you a meter, but I can show you this with a transistor radio so that you understand that we can't see they look so innocent. The smartphone doesn't. You can't see any fields coming from it. There's no radiation there. Well, one way that you can see this, of course, is a meter, but with a transistor radio, if you put it to just at the end of it where there's not, you're not broadcasting, hearing a station, you can hear the static. Now, I have Chris's phone here to give this demonstration.
I still have a phone.
Yes, he does. But so now I'm getting close to the phone. Now I'm going away. Now listen to when I try and connect to the internet. And so as you pull away, then it backs up. So what that's showing you...
It makes me want to say we interrupt this broadcast.
It's a very primitive way of showing that there's a change there. You can sense the fields there. This is real. There is radiation coming from it. Now, it's non-ionizing, but the more you learn about the potential to play with the immune system and DNA strand breaks and so I just had a lot of reason health-wise, but that wasn't the only reason. I don't know if that would have been enough for me. Could this, I definitely stopped using it next to my head. I used speaker more. I got an air tube headset. I got a safer case. I worked hard trying to keep it. There was still this level of anxiety that I experienced with it. And the anxiety is just so multifaceted. Not only did I have anxiety about trying to stay connected to the world and then feeling like I have to have it. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? And that has an actual name, and I don't know if I'm saying it right. Nomophobia, I believe it is. And so I felt not alone. Okay, nomophobia. I'm not the only one. According to England, 53% of mobile phone users in Britain tend to be anxious when they lose their phone or they run out of battery or credit or they have no network coverage. That's more than half. And you look at kids today and they will identify. I spoke to a physics class about this, and they all raised their hand when I said, do any of you get anxiety if you don't have your phone next to you? So we're not alone. There's an actual biological reason this is hitting a certain part of our brain that tells us we need it, we need it, we need it. So that disturbed me. I'm afraid to be without my phone. Why? And then just the anxiety of decision making, the anxiety of feeling badly if I checked it in the car. Chris and my daughter were in a major car accident right after I switched the phone, and there was no the cell phone wasn't part of this accident, but the person who came to tow the totaled car away said that's the number one thing I see. So you just don't text and drive. Don't be on your phone. And the way he said it with such passion, it's like, well, I hope to never do that again.
I don't know. Can I break in here?
Yes.
I don't know that the accident had nothing to do with cell phones. I know that there wasn't any out in my car. I don't know about the other car.
That's true.
And so I just want to throw that in there. And the other thing to jump in, there may be somebody saying, yeah, this is crazy. This is... this stuff doesn't. If it hurt us, then we'd have all of these people with warnings on it, like on the side of a cigarette package, and you don't see that. But it's interesting that you pointed out to me in the instructions with the phone, there are some things that come with that say warning.
Absolutely. Every instruction manual will tell you. Now it varies in the exact centimeters. Every instruction manual for a mobile phone tells you to hold it around an inch away from your body. But we don't read that fine print because the testing is done with a mannequin who's got the head size of a 6'2" military recruit, not right next to it. And this is thermal testing, and there's so many problems with the testing. Nonetheless, your instruction manual tells you, do not hold this next to your body. But how many of us know this? And thankfully, this year, the city of Berkeley, California has the very first warning. All cell phone vendors have to carry with it a warning in the store. So it's changing. We're getting it, but slowly.
Now, there are some people who say, well, that's Berkeley, But I want you to listen to her passion here, because she even, when you finally decide, okay, I'm going to get out, I'm not going to do this anymore, what happened with, I'm sure that the cell phone company said, well, great, we're so glad for this decision you've made, right?
One thing I learned is it's much easier to get into the system and go to the next level of technology. Isn't that easy? Everything is made. Come, oh yes, we'll take a trade-in. You need an upgrade, and we'll even pay you to upgrade. It's just so easy, everything about it. And yet, we're not thinking twice about $50, $60, $70, $80 a month on this technology. I mean, that's a lot of money. But I was overwhelmed for a reason to get rid of my smartphone, because when I called to cancel my service, I can't tell you the runaround. I was sent to the next person, They're trying to talk me out of it. They're, all this. And so I actually did sell my phone to somebody else. I went to my provider and I said, I want to clear this out because I can't control other people buying these and having these. They're out there. And I thought, well, this is at least good quality for a very good price. I'll be saving somebody some money. Well, I made sure it was cleared out. I said, is this unlocked? The person writes me back and says, this is not unlocked. So I call the provider, and it was agonizing to get them to help me unlock my phone. Now, it was so easy to get into it, but it was a nightmare getting out of it. So we did it, and I went back to, and Chris and he helped me shop at my big box store about which $15 phone I wanted. I went back to the most primitive there is, and I got to say, I miss the ease of texting. Texting is a nightmare now, but guess what? It keeps me off my phone. It keeps me actually talking to my kids on my landline or seeing them face to face. I just would be in denial to say, it hasn't made any difference. I miss the texting and the convenience of it. So it's come with a cost, but would I trade this? Oh, no, the freedom has just really shocked me, to be honest, how much better I feel. And I knew I had turned the corner when the other day, and Chris, you'll remember this, I thought I lost my phone. And I said to you, I think I lost my phone. And there was my heart wasn't pounding. The phone is $15. I don't really use it. There was zero anxiety. And the next day I woke up and I had completely forgotten that I lost my phone. Would that have happened with my smartphone? Do you remember sometimes where I would leave it around the house and I was nervous?
Well, I found it earlier that day in the back of the car because it had gone to the back. And I brought it to you and I said, "Here, I think this is your phone." "Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, I left it in there. It fell out of the purse, whatever." And then when I said, you told me that you'd lost it, then I started to have anxiety.
Really?
So it put it on me, and I was thinking, oh no, because we just gave a bunch of stuff to Goodwill. I wonder if it fell in there, and if somebody gets that, then they're gonna, have that extra $15 that you still had on,
right,
or that type of thing. But yeah, you're right. You got a better, your energy level came way down as far as the anxiety and the stress about this thing that gives you safety. If you get on the side of the road, you have flat tire or whatever, you need to call somebody, you can do that. I think it's really important for people to hear, though, about brain function and about why you've tried, because I a lot of times will use the smartphone to navigate from one place to the next, show me which turn I make, and I don't have to think about it. My Siri tells me where I'm supposed to go. And you're saying that's not always a good thing.
Well, this was a huge red flag for me because I have worked so hard to regain my brain function. I lost so much memory function and had a really foggy brain. To recover my brain at my age, in my 50s, was not an easy task. So I've worked hard for that, but I noticed because of our toxic mold exposure, that was my number one symptom, was the loss of brain function, neurological problems. So having worked so hard, and then I get this great piece of technology, I was noticing that I couldn't find my way around. I had a lot of anxiety with directions because I was relying on my navigation tool. And just that loss of brain function, I value it too much to lose it to some piece of technology. But I gotta say, it was terrifying to let go of that option. Maybe I need to go back and get an actual atlas or a map. The studies that Nicholas Carr cites in his book, The Shallows, about London cab drivers and the amount of gray matter that they develop, they have such strong brain function with navigation. And then when they turn to the device way of navigation, they lost so much of it. I mean, there's so much out there, but intuitively, I don't need the studies. I don't need that. I can just know this is not good for my long-term brain health. And that really, so when you say the navigation, I just think that was huge. But I want to conclude this discussion anyway with Nicholas Carr, since I've just, he really helped me so much. The name of the book is The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. And of course, now that we have smartphones, we have the internet with us all the time. And this is what touched me so much, because I am a deep thinker at heart. I want to be creative, and yet I just found with the level of anxiety and my brain racing so much, I was missing a lot. So when I read this by him, I just so identified. It's not only deep thinking that requires a calm, attentive mind. It's also empathy and compassion. Psychologists have long studied how people experience fear and react to physical threats, but it's only recently that they've begun researching the sources of our nobler instincts. What they're finding is that the director of the USC's Brain and Creativity Institute says, this is a quote from Antonio Damasio, the higher emotions emerge from neural processes that are inherently slow. And I knew in my heart I wanted to slow down, because not only am I less able to sit still or less able to think deeply, I was maybe not as empathetic or able to embrace and involve myself deeply with another person. It was impacting my relationship. So that hit me at my core, and I will never look back.
So in a sense, you're saying the cell phone, the smartphone is contributive to this, but really it's not about the smartphone. It's about some of the choices we're making.
Absolutely. And there may be, and I know there are some people, they have to have it for their work, but I know there are adaptations that you always can make, at night or breaks. I hope this changes the way at least we use our smartphone. That's not the problem itself.
You've been listening to The Connecting Place, making the connection between health and your environment. Join us again next time for The Connecting Place with Andrea Faber.